I want to go to Bolivia in the last section of time we have. And I guess we'll just start with what's awful and then maybe some potentially encouraging signs. But can you just talk really distill for us in the last couple of weeks really the nature of this regime? It has been so obscene that even a lot of people who were doing some, foolish liberal posturing in the first weeks after the coup have had to take a step back because apparently a right-wing coup against Evo Morales is not being led by people that are concerned about water pollution. They seem to have some other political motivations at work.
Right. And I think this liberal posturing is really key to what happened here and why the international media played, they played a heavy hand in the coup, because what we have had for years now in Bolivia. So this is what separates Bolivia, I feel, from countries like Cuba, where there is a lot more. Cuba actually has its own English language media. Venezuela has TeleSUR English, also Venezuela Analysis. But Bolivia has actually has not had its own sort of leftist or mass aligned or people aligned media in English or internationally. Even Spanish coverage has been very bad for Bolivia. What we have seen is these sort of NGO people, liberal environmentalists, people trying to, cover Bolivia on the issues of, feminism, their liberal feminism, their fake environmentalism, all while tokenizing indigenous people. So that has been a massive injustice. And the reason why we don't understand the way things actually work on the ground, what organizing looks like, how the mass is actually constructed. So that has been a massive disservice of the international left in not covering Bolivia. And that's why what happened since the coup was parachute journalism, because people didn't understand anything that happens. People had to orient themselves very quickly. So, of course, we've been covering Bolivia for so long without any sort of class analysis. We've actually been systematically omitting any type of class analysis while trying to throw in these issues of feminism and everything like that. And so actually the right wing was able to, they were able to use that. And then they're using these issues of feminism, even violence against women, environmentalism, the fires in Bolivia against Evo Morales. And so that is something, that is our fault, us in the media, the English speaking media. And so, what I spent a lot of time doing when I was there was visiting with the relatives of victims of the two major massacres in two different parts of the country. So the relatives, some victims themselves who survived, and other witnesses, other residents of the area. So one of them was the first one was in Cochabamba, the Department of Cochabamba, and it was near the Cocalero region, I guess. It was, this is a very strong, it's a mass stronghold. It's an area that really supports Evo Morales.
That's the political party of Evo Morales, MAS. Yeah.
Yes, the movement towards socialism is the party of Evo Morales. And so this is a mass stronghold. So following the consolidation of the coup, these people erected roadblocks for kilometers and kilometers. Absolutely everything was completely shut down. Even now, so a lot of the roadblocks, or most of the roadblocks, all of them perhaps, have been lifted, but there's basically no medics, there's no police, there's no fire department, there are no emergency services, because the coup government and the police and military completely abandoned the area because they understand the sort of resistance organizing that's going on there, and they know that it's absolutely not a place for them to be. So they've abandoned their posts. There's completely empty police stations that people can just walk through in that area. So what the first massacre took place there on November 15th, and that 9 people were killed there, and they were killed by the military and by guns. And this is something that the prosecutor and the government and the military and police have denied. They've said that bullets were not found in the bodies. And of course, the ombudsman, what we call the Defensoria there, has said that absolutely every single patient that came or their relatives or whoever found them and grabbed them off the ground came with bullets. And so this is something that's being disputed. But of course, the Argentine delegation in solidarity with Bolivia, which is all these like intellectuals, social movement people, most notably from the movement Patria Grande, they were there and they interviewed people just as I did. And of course, their findings in their report said the same, that there were bullets found. And this is just unbelievably indisputable. And people have video evidence, photos. I myself do as well. And so that was the first massacre. The other one took place trying to lift roadblocks around the Sencata gas plant, which is in the city of El Alto, which neighbors La Paz. So that's actually the gas distribution plant which services the city of La Paz and all the rich people in the Zona Sur, all the people who support, Carlos Mesa, which is the second place candidate who, came in second after Evo in the elections, but also some people who support the far right, which is from Santa Cruz, but there are some of those people in the Zona Sur of La Paz as well. So they were at risk of seeing, some major shortages because of these road blockades in these two areas. And then the gas shortage was a huge problem. So, of course, they carried out a military operation.
Oh, did we lose you?
The massacre of 10 people.
We lost you for just a second there, but we got that, which was the second massacre. We only have a little bit of time left, but I want to ask you just two different questions at that time. So one, you've talked about some of the organic organizing inside Bolivia. What do you make also of Evo Morales? I mean, he's been giving interviews. He's traveling. Obviously, he was granted asylum by the AMLO government in Mexico, which is significant. And he's definitely talking like somebody who's obviously, he's been deposed by a coup, but he's strategizing. He seems to have a plan. I don't know. What do you think of the sort of broader viability of resistance to what's happened in Bolivia?
Yeah, absolutely. So when he left, he was at risk of falling off the map. That's always a risk. Or of becoming illegitimate for other reasons. The right wing could have been more successful in saying that he is inciting violence and sedition from the exterior. They were able to round up a lot of journalists, a lot of analysts, a lot of political leaders, both social leaders from the grassroots on the ground and also political leaders from the elected mass. But, they weren't able to turn it around on him. Actually, what we saw is an outpouring of support internationally when all these people who should have been in solidarity to begin with kind of realized the gravity of what happened. So I think that he's stayed really relevant. If we're going to speak in terms of social media following, what he's doing on social media is doing very well. Right. These exclusive interviews that he's doing are doing very well. And so I think a lot of people's number one question to me has been, when do you think he's going to come back? He's going to return to Bolivia? And I really don't know the answer. And I don't know what strategically would make more sense to do either, because I actually think that the roots, the grassroots, the base of the MAS is powerful enough, organized enough to be able to run candidates without Evo in the country, and even without him playing a major role in the election. So I do think I think what he's doing right now is political leadership, and it's very important. And I think it's a really good move to keep himself relevant, to be able to give that massive endorsement to whoever the grassroots decide to promote up to be possible candidates, and whoever ends up being the final candidate. And I think it's really important that he's this person who's kind of collecting and disseminating information at the top, but not necessarily back in the country yet.
You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.